Cheap photographers aren't taking your clients. And I know that sounds wrong because you're watching bookings go to someone charging half of what you charge. But here's what's actually happening. And once you understand this and the mechanisms, you'll see why the photographers charging $6,000 for weddings aren't worried about the ones charging $1,500. Let me show you something. When a client says, I found someone cheaper, they're not telling you the real reason they're not booking. They're telling you the socially acceptable reason, because the real reason makes them look indecisive. And here's what's actually happening. They inquired with you, but they also inquired with 3 other photographers, and none of you gave them enough certainty for them to make a decision. So their brain chose the lowest risk option. And when everything feels equally risky, the lowest price wins. But here's the part most photographers miss. You weren't competing on price, you were competing on quality. And the cheap photographer didn't win because they were cheap. They won because they were clearer. And let me explain what I mean. A client inquires about wedding photography. You say, my collections start at $4,800. But your competitor says $1,200 for full day coverage, 600 photos, and a 3-week delivery. Now, who feels safer? The one with 4 numbers, not 1. Now, here's where this gets interesting for you, because you're not trying to compete with the $1,200 photographer. You're trying to eliminate them from the equation entirely. And there's a way to do that. But before I show you how, you need to understand why this is happening more now than 5 years ago. Because the market didn't really get more competitive. It just got more uncertain. Clients used to decide based on portfolio, and now they're deciding based on a risk calculation. And here's why that matters. When clients evaluated portfolios, talent won. And when clients evaluate risk, clarity wins. And that's the shift. The most premium photographers are still marketing like it's 2020 or 2018. They're showing beautiful work and assuming that's enough. But really, it's not. Because the client, looking at your $5,000 package and the competitor's $1,500 package, isn't thinking which photos are better. They're actually thinking, which one feels less likely to screw me over? And without certainty, cheap feels safer than premium. So here's what fully booked premium photographers figured out. They stopped competing on the same axis as cheap photographers. They changed the comparison entirely. And let me show you how. So the first move is they don't even sell photography. Now that sounds weird, but they sell outcomes. Real estate photographers don't say $300 per shoot. They say listings with our photos sell 19 days faster. Wedding photographers don't just say $6,000 for 8 hours. They say 72-hour delivery, so you're reliving your wedding while it's fresh. Another example, commercial photographers. They don't tell you $2,500 day rate. They say full licensing handled, so you never worry about usage rights. And you see what just happened? The cheap photographer can't compete with that because they're not even offering that. They're simply offering photos, but you're offering a business outcome or a personal outcome. It's a different game entirely. Now, the second move is that speed becomes the moat, not speed of reply, but speed of delivery. If you can deliver in 48 hours and everyone else takes 3 weeks, the price becomes irrelevant. A brand photographer charges $2,800 when competitors charge $800. Fully booked because the client needs those photos tomorrow, not next month. And speed isn't about being desperate. It's about being structured. Third move is package complexity. Don't offer sessions, offer complete solutions. The real estate photographer doesn't offer property photos. They offer photos, drone, twilight, floor plans, virtual staging, MLS optimization. The wedding photographer doesn't offer 8 hours of coverage. They offer photos, Super 8 film, same day edit video, thank you card design, guest book printing. Compete in a different category. Now, here's the part that actually makes all of this work, because you can have great positioning, fast delivery, and complete packages. But if you're still getting inquiries from price shoppers, none of it matters. So here's what the premium photographers, the ones who never hear you're too expensive, here's what they figured out. They filter before the inquiry ever happens. Now put your starting price on your website, not contact for pricing. You should say collections start at $5,200. And now that one single line eliminates 70% of price shoppers. They self-select out before wasting your time. And here's what happens next. The people who do inquire are already sold on value. They're not comparing you to the $1,500 photographer. They're comparing you to the $6,000 photographer. It's a completely different pool. Now, here's where most premium photographers still lose bookings. And this is the part that no one talks about. Now, let me explain. So your client gets engaged. They start researching photographers. This client sees your work, loves it, and moves on. But 3 weeks later, they're ready to book. Who do they remember? Whoever they've seen 6 times in those 3 weeks. And if that's the cheap photographer who's posting every day, that's basically who they book. Not because they're cheaper, but because they're more familiar. And familiarity beats quality when the decision time actually comes. So here's what the fully booked premium photographers do. They don't try to be everywhere. They just simply show up in 4 places where their ideal client already checks. So for wedding photographers, these are wedding planners, high-end venue email lists, bridal boutique referrals, premium vendor networks. For commercial photographers, industry conferences, trade publications, commercial real estate broker networks, and CMO email lists. For brand photographers, these are business coach communities, entrepreneur masterminds, co-working space partnerships, and marketing agency relationships. They're not on Instagram hoping someone finds them. They're showing up where their $6,000 client already spends time, and different strategy entirely. And here's the compounding part. Because once you start getting premium clients, they bring more premium clients. And affluent people know other affluent people. And one photographer gets 60% of her weddings from referrals, charges $8,200 per wedding, never runs ads, never posts content, just asks every client, who else comes to mind? Then gets 2 to 3 referrals per wedding. Those referrals close at 80% because they come pre-sold. And that's the difference between fighting for every booking and having bookings come to you. Now let me show you why the data on this actually works. Because I know you're thinking, well, that sounds great, but does it actually hold up? One study tracked vendor referrals versus Instagram inquiries for wedding photographers. It showed that vendor referrals converted 40% higher, spent $3,100 more on average, and booked 20 days faster. Not because the vendor referral was a better client. It's just that because they were already inquiring with trust. Here's what happens when you change the game. You're not competing with cheap photographers anymore. You're playing a different strategy where price isn't even part of the conversation. So here's what I would do if I were you. So first of all, I would put your starting price on your website today. I would filter out the price shoppers before they waste your time. Second thing I'd do is I would change your positioning from photography to outcome. What business result do your clients actually want? Sell that and not the photos. Next is build one vendor relationship this month. Wedding planners, real estate brokers, brand consultants, whoever serves your ideal client, send them your photos and make it easy for them to refer you. Now, the fourth thing, ask every current client for 2 referrals. Right when you deliver their gallery, not later, right when their satisfaction peaks. And that's it. It's just 4 moves. And here's what happens. First of all, your inquiries will go down, but your bookings will go up because you're only talking to people who can afford you. Because your average sale goes up because you're positioning on outcome instead of price. And your referrals go up because you're asking when it matters. And 6 months from now, you're not worried about cheap photographers anymore. You're not ranting on Facebook about it because you're not competing with them. You're in a different category entirely. Now look, I know some of you are thinking, this sounds good, but I need clients now. And I get it, but here's the thing. The photographers who stay stuck at $2,000 weddings aren't there because the market won't pay more. They're simply there because they're still competing with cheaper options on the same axis. The ones who break through to $6,000, $8,000, even $12,000 are not better photographers. They just changed the comparison. And once you see how to do that, you cannot unsee it. I break down more of this on my email list. It's one email every single day on what's actually working for photographers to command premium rates in very competitive markets. It's really not theory, it's just what's working right now. The link's in the description if you want it.